Nobody expected a music titan who once danced in a white suit beside the Notorious B.I.G. to end up staring down a jury that could lock him away for decades. Yet, on a gray Manhattan morning in April 2025, federal agents escorted Sean Diddy, Combs into Courtroom 26A. The gold bad boy medallion was gone, the swagger replaced by an anxious half-smile. For millions who grew up on his hits, the question is no longer can't stop, won't stop. It's how did it come to this? The first tremor hit on the 25th of March 2024, when Homeland Security teams stormed Combs' Los Angeles and Miami estates. Armored vehicles punched through iron gates. Agents carted out servers, phones, and stacks of non-disclosure agreements prosecutors now call weapons of silence. Rumors of freak-offs, drug-laced, invite-only parties had swirled online for years, but the raids made whispers impossible to ignore. Then came Cassie's civil suit in November 2023, alleging rape, trafficking, and a hotel beating so savage it shattered furniture. The claim vanished in a reported $20 million settlement, yet far from closing the book. It pushed federal investigators to dig deeper. When prosecutors unsealed their indictment in early 2025, 3 decades of tabloid footnotes suddenly formed a single picture: racketeering, sex trafficking, transportation for prostitution. Combs pleaded not guilty and vowed to fight every lie. Still, insiders began flipping none more devastating than John D., a hulking bodyguard who spent 15 years one step behind his boss, earpiece crackling, shoulders squared. Now he was ready to talk. The domino John D. took the stand on day 18. A pin could have dropped. For weeks, Combs had smirked and traded quips with counsel, confident that NDAs would muzzle every ex-assistant and dancer. But John D. rolled out personnel logs, encrypted phone backups, and a private journal he'd kept for insurance. He described a machine with military precision: finders who scouted aspiring singers, handlers who slipped tiny pink pills into drinks, cleaners who hustled away phones, and fixers who mailed gift bag NDAs when things went wrong. "We weren't protecting him from danger," John D. said. "We were protecting him from consequences." The gallery exhaled. The trial had crossed a line of no return. Cassie's video 2 days later, prosecutors queued up silent security footage. From a 2016 Beverly Hills corridor, Combs' bald head gleaming, shoving Cassie against wallpaper, forearm pressed to her throat. Cassie, now a government witness, dabbed tears as jurors watched. "Multiply that by 100, she whispered. Outside, cable news chirons screamed. TikTok's #BadBoyFall soared past 10 million views. John D. returned to map dates and locations: 2008 Miami, 2010 Atlanta, 2012 Star Island. Each log ending boss intervention. His euphemism for threats, assaults, or bribes. A newly revealed email chain about a $100,000 facility fee to a 5-star hotel left jurors wondering how often hush money bought silence. Kanye's cameo on the 13th of June 2025. Kanye the West arrived in a matte gray Maybach. Entourage filming what fans dubbed Yeezy Court Diaries. Security pushed him to an overflow room. Within half an hour, he stormed out, muttering about media theatrics. The sideshow couldn't mask the damage done inside. A Homeland Security agent testified that drives seized from Combs' panic room contained hours of private suite footage. Brand partners began to bolt. A liquor sponsor paused promotions. And Revolt's board convened emergency calls. Inside, the enforcer's mind cross-examination tried to paint John D. as a mercenary. "You cashed every bonus," defense counsel sneered. He didn't flinch. That laugh you see in party videos. That's terror pretending to be fun. The jury recalibrated. Imperfect witness, but maybe credible in his shame. The chain reaction former assistant Mia testified that Combs once ordered her to fetch extra pinks because a guest was too aware. She quit, then was gifted a Mercedes lease and a fresh NDA. 2 other employees confirmed a routine: confiscate phones, spike drinks, collect signatures. Legal analysts branded it racketeering in designer clothing. Public outrage grew. Playlists quietly downranked Combs's catalog. Juror chaos when Judge Arun Subramanian dismissed juror number 6 for misstating his address. The defense demanded a mistrial. Motion denied. The remaining 12 shouldered 18 binders of exhibits and withdrew to deliberate. A first straw poll reportedly leaned heavily toward guilt, but evidence has gravity. It drags doubts inward. Playlist question outside deliberations. #BadBoyFall neared 1 billion views. Streaming services weighed timeout shelves. Lawmakers floated national limits on NDAs in criminal cases. Corporate America can forgive many sins, but child trafficking headlines aren't one of them. Closing arguments prosecutors opened with a black screen. Power without accountability is just fear. They replayed 5 seconds of Cassie's torment, then marched through a timeline: 2008 Miami logs, 2010 NDA renewals, 2012 detained code sending on the 2024 raids. The defense countered that money changed hands long before morality showed up. Cassie took a settlement. John D. took bonuses. But prosecutors had already reframed that cash as evidence of control. With closings done, the jury deliberated 3 days, requesting readbacks of John D.'s testimony and reviews of the seized DVR contents. Observers sensed the walls closing in, 2 roads at the verdict's speculative dramatization full. Conviction, racketeering, and trafficking bring 25 to life. Assets: Star Island, Holmby Hills, DeLeon share, are forfeited. Civil plaintiffs rush forward, insurers balk. Masters revert under morals clauses. Industry lawyers call it the largest IP implosion since Weinstein. Partial acquittal or hung jury, lesser counts still carry 5 to 15 years plus fines, but the empire might limp on. Resembling Chris Brown's post 2009. Career rather than R. Kelly's freefall. Either headline sparks the same debate. Can you still two-step to mo money, mo problems, knowing the backstory? Sentencing mechanics: if convicted, sentencing lands 60 to 90 days post-verdict. Prosecutors cite grooming patterns, witness intimidation, and unregistered firearms. Defense highlights philanthropy: Howard donations, Harlem schools. Judges rarely let charity outweigh coercion. Industry reckoning: security firms rewrite NDAs overnight. Netflix freezes to music doc projects. Streaming services test algorithms to hide catalogs during active felony cases. A bipartisan House caucus schedules hearings titled NDAs, Power, and Predators. Celebrity fallout spreads like dye in water. Cardi B tweets a broken heart emoji. Jay-Z moves his annual brunch. For every star, lawyers update crisis come templates, if asked. Affirm you never witnessed wrongdoing, but support due process. Victims and whistleblowers: Cassie retreats from cameras. Focusing on family and new music. Mia lands a book deal. Inside the Velvet Trap, John D., now under witness protection light, offers one line to reporters. Silence ended the night the footage surfaced. I don't regret a thing. Advocacy hotlines see a spike in calls from entertainment workers, citing NDA pressure. Life on the inside: speculative should Combs hear the word guilty and land at a law security federal prison. He'll trade private jets for 6 a.m. counts. Federal policy allows inmates with special talents to run music workshops. Imagine the irony if the Bad Boy founder teaches beatmaking behind razor wire. If he emerges a decade later, he may find royalty streams cannibalized by AI remixes and NDAs legally toothless. If instead, the jury deadlocks. Expect Combs to declare victory, drop a docuseries, and sue Homeland Security. Either way, the spotlight has burned the shadows. The old normal is over. Your turn, whether you're a lifelong fan or a casual scandal watcher. The question stretches beyond one mogul. If the verdict reads guilty, NDAs have limits. If it reads not guilty, we confront how. Power and consent collide amid billion-dollar empires. Should streaming platforms suspend catalogs during felony trials? Do NDA reforms go far enough? And can you separate the beat from the behavior? Drop your thoughts below, like if this deep dive kept you hooked, and subscribe so you'll know the moment the real verdict lands. Secrets only stay buried when everyone shovels. Stop shoveling, start speaking. Watch how fast the ground erupts. Verdict day. The sound that silenced the room, the clerk's voice barely cracked above a whisper. Yet it felt louder than a bass drop in a stadium. Guilty on counts 1 through 3. Gasps ricocheted off marble walls. Combs, once the embodiment of unflappable cool, slumped so far forward his forehead nearly brushed the defense table. Cameras weren't allowed, but every sketch artist drew the same detail, his hands trembling, thumbs digging crescents into his palms. Outside, Manhattan's Foley Square erupted. Supporters shouted appeal, while survivors chanted protect. Women. A helicopter's rotor washed round both camps in white noise. For a second, the scene looked like a music video set gone rogue. That shockwave became day zero of a new era. Sentencing. When image meets consequences 2 days later, sentencing day arrived under sweltering August heat. Combs wore a charcoal suit 2 sizes looser than his chart-topping days. Prosecutors asked for 40 years, citing leadership enhancement and pattern of predation. Defense pleaded for 12, waving glossy brochures of Howard University scholarships and Harlem food drives. Judge Arun Subramanian split the difference, 31 years. Plus forfeiture of $480 million in assets. Inside court, the decision landed like a mallet on a snare drum. Sharp, final. Impossible to ignore, Combs managed one sentence. I will prove my innocence on appeal. No swagger, no ad-libs, just a low, raspy promise that bounced around the rafters and died. The prison years, beats behind razor wire, transferred to a law security federal complex in Florida. Combs discovered prison runs on alarms, not after parties. Morning count at 6 a.m. Work detail, sorting library books. Lights out at 10. Inmates called him coach after he volunteered to teach a music production class on battered keyboards. He took the gig anything to fill endless hours, but every session ended with the same irony. The man who once coached artists to chase freedom now had none. Whispers said he wrote rhymes at night, cataloging grievances against prosecutors, ex-bodyguards, even former friends who stayed silent. Whether those verses become a post-release album or stay locked in memory is a mystery only time will answer. Ripple 1. The NDA earthquake within 6 months. Congress passed the Silence No More National Act, clauses that once gagged employees. At record labels, studios, and sports franchises lost their teeth overnight. Civil rights lawyers called it #me to single quotes as final stone in Goliath's forehead. Corporations scrambled to draft ethical contract templates that carve out mandatory windows for reporting crimes. Ripple 2. Streaming's new morality code. Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music rolled out a felony flag algorithm. Any artist convicted of violent or trafficking crimes auto-drops from algorithmic playlists for 5 years. Listeners can still search and play, but the system no longer serves the music on autopilot. Play counts for Combs' catalog fell 62%. In a month, fan petitions to restore visibility trended for a weekend, then fizzled. The security industry cleans house. Executive protection firms, once invisible shadows, suddenly headlined compliance conferences. New standard contracts force guards to keep dual-duty logs. One copy for the client, one encrypted to a neutral. escrow server. If a John D. ever feels pressure again, the evidence auto-routes to regulators the moment tampering is detected. The Survivors, moving from silence to stage, Cassie resurfaced on streaming platforms with an EP titled Unsealed 4 Songs. Sparse production, lyrical daggers aimed at paper walls that couldn't muffle screams. Critics hailed it as raw and haunting. Former assistant Mia's memoir, Inside the Velvet Trap, rocketed onto bestseller lists, fueling panel debates about complicity and courage. Nonprofit hotlines logged a 41% surge in calls from entertainment workers citing NDA intimidation. One advocate dubbed 2026 the year the whispers turned to testimony. Culture clash: can beats outlive bad deeds? Radio programmers faced a dilemma: pull iconic 90s tracks or separate art from artist. Some stations opted for historical slots, spinning classics only during throwback blocks with on-air disclaimers. Others scrubbed bad boy anthems, entirely fearing advertiser backlash. Fans argued in comment sections, if we ditch every song tied to a flawed creator, will any jukebox survive? The debate never reached consensus, but it reframed how playlists double as moral statements. Appeals and the long road true to his parting vow. Combs's legal team filed appeal after appeal first on evidentiary grounds, then claiming ineffective. Counsel, too, were dismissed. One advanced to oral argument but stalled when appellate judges found overwhelming independent corroboration. After that, news faded. Appeals grind slower than a vinyl record at 16 RPM. 10 years later, a parole hearing and a question a decade ticked by. AI-generated remixes dominated charts. Club DJs blended holographic Biggie verses with metaverse beats. In 2035, Combs stood before a parole board, hair gray, voice measured. He spoke about reflection and faith, but victim statements still cut deep. The board denied release, citing continued minimization of harm. He shuffled back down the corridor, sentence unchanged. Closing reflection: the power scale reset the saga's truest legacy isn't a courtroom victory or a fallen icon. It's a recalibrated definition of power in pop culture. Once, an 8-figure bank balance and an army of lawyers guaranteed omerta. Now, one bodyguard's journal, a battered USB, and a viral hashtag tipped the scale. If you're holding secrets for the rich and ruthless, know this: silence rents loyalty, but truth owns the deed. So shout, record, document whatever it takes. Because every empire built on fear can crumble under one unafraid voice. Liked this deep dive? Smash that subscribe, share the video, and let us know in the comments, should streaming services keep the felony flag forever or set an expiration date? Do NDAs still serve any good purpose? How do you decide where art ends and accountability begins? Your voice shapes the next chapter. Don't let it stay buried.